Oh, look what I found.
Just a few things I wanted to add that occurred to me during or after when I was working on the previous video. To make a brief recap, the season is all about women's role as mothers and men as juvenile children. The researchers likely die foolishly during a juvenile male initiation ritual of some kind, which is represented in the poor decision-making of Hank in the first episode, and Annie is likely killed to facilitate the mine being built, which corresponds to the domestic violence that we also see in the first episode. One thing I got wrong is that polar bears do not do general hibernation, but the females do it, when pregnant, which makes the she in She's Awake being the bear even more appropriate to the show's themes around motherhood. The bear is likely metaphorically making her cubs a sandwich here in the scene where Navarro runs into her in town. The bear is hunting in town because the town is supposed to represent a phallic, male encroachment on Mother Nature, hence the name that rhymes with male genitalia. Lopez is setting up a dichotomy with civilization, technology, and masculinity on one side, and wilderness, intuition, and femininity on the other side.
All right, folks, Christmas is coming. Can't stop it. You have your presents lined up?
I also want to add that in the modern understanding of European pagan religions, particularly in modern Wicca, there is a central story of a male and female deity which go through an annual cycle. In the winter would be the period when the old male deity dies and the new young male deity is born as a child to the female mother deity. This is specifically the Wiccan holiday of Yule. You can see the parallel in the Christian holiday at this same time, also centering around a mother and child. The parallels with the themes of female motherhood and male immaturity, as well as the setting during winter, I believe are very direct. Another story revolving around men as children and the relationship they have to women is Peter Pan. Peter Pan is sometimes associated with the Green Man traditions of Europe, which modern Wicca sought to emulate in their annual cycle of holidays. Additionally, I believe that Salal refers not only to the darkness before creation of Genesis in Judeo-Christian religions and other mythologies, but it also very directly translates to shadow or shade. This likely refers in some way I'm not completely certain of to the scene where Wendy sews on Peter Pan's shadow. Which brings us to the predictions I'd like to add. Ray is probably the Peter Pan character. He seems to have a lot of narrative focus. I also expect Annie to be his Tinkerbell. Ray likely has another family from which he conceals his relationship with Annie. As Squidward Jorts points out, Annie is a reference to Anna Karenina, a story centrally featuring infidelity. This could be the secret the men's group is covering for Ray on. They are bro-coding his infidelity with Annie to his likely existent wife. We have already seen references to infidelity in the show. I expect we will see Ray's other family mentioned and possibly appear, likely as a red herring to make the audience believe he killed Annie. He didn't. I am more certain of this now. He was too in love with Annie to harm her. Which brings me to this guy. He killed Annie. He has no lines in episode 1, but we see him foreshadowed as the killer when he freezes up after seeing Navarro at the mine. I mean, look at this guy. Ruh-roh. That is the look of guilt. He won't have been paid off or otherwise part of a larger conspiracy. Lopez will be making the point that individual men acting due to societal pressures, i.e. toxic masculinity, are dangerous and can shape events just like a grand conspiracy. His motivation will simply be that he sees the mine as a job opportunity for himself, and he feels some kind of societal pressure to be a provider. No cigar-smoking executive will offer him a deal in a back room. He just thinks he'll get a job if the mine comes to town.
The busted ears and the self-inflicted bite wounds.
Yeah.
One final long shot I want to mention is that I think the quote-unquote self-inflicted wounds on the men will actually be them clawing each other while trying to climb over each other, much like crabs in a bucket. It is possible a dunk in the ice was part of the initiation ritual I hypothesize, and the bear may show up, leading to the panicked crabbing. We see the crab processing facility in the beginning, and I think crabs in a bucket is likely Issa Lopez's metaphor for toxic masculine culture. One of her points likely will be that women can disrupt this crabs in a bucket-like process and produce stronger men through protective, assertive, matronly action. So I wanted to get this out before we get episode 3, particularly the bit about Ray having a family separate from Annie. I suspected that, but it really came together when I saw Squidward Jort's suggested connection to Anna Karenina after my previous video was done. There's also a good chance that we'll get some reveal about that soon, as I think it will be used to frame up Ray as the murderer to the audience for a couple of episodes. If anything I said made you think, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. This has been Shiva's Right Foot, and I'll talk to you next time.